So, welcome. Allow yourself to settle into your comfortable upright seated position, and remembering that can be on a chair if that is more comfortable for you, for your knees, hips, ankles, or any other part. You can also kneel around a bolster or blocks if you have those, whatever feels appropriate for you. And once you've found your seat, allow yourself to settle, a sense of aligning your spine, settling your head on top. Perhaps that feeling of drawing your head slightly back, and it's not a tilt. So avoid lifting or dropping your chin, simply sending the head directly backwards. And as you settle into your breath, you may choose to close your eyes for a moment. Take stock. Notice what you find. And you may find that you naturally wish to slightly extend your exhale in order to settle your body. That you're sitting down through the sit bones towards the front of them. You've positioned the chest lightly above, and the head on top, shoulders released. And then we're going to move ourselves into Svadhisthana Mudra, the gesture of the second chakra, Svadhisthana. And to do that, we bring slightly cupped hands, just gently cupped, as if we were going to sup water from a tap or the stream. And we place our right hand just below our navel on the belly, and the left hand with the elbow alongside the body comfortably, shoulders relaxed, and holding that left palm up to receive, and just slightly out to the left, what feels comfortable for your shoulder and arm. And once you've achieved your mudra, your gesture, you might want to return to closed eyes or drop gaze. And this is the gesture of the inner dwelling place. And it's a gesture for a sense of coming home. So perhaps you've spent some time home recently, but are you at home in your own body? And this gesture helps us to balance the second chakra, Svadhisthana. It supports the health of the reproductive organs and urinary system. And be helpful for releasing tension in the sacral lower back area. And enhancing a sense of being at home with yourself. Supporting healthy relationships. And it can also be helpful with people's codependency and addictions. And it will naturally draw your breath down as you hold this gesture towards that area of your body, the sacral pelvic area. A downward flowing energy, bringing stability and safety. At home, within my being, I experience deep self-nourishment and healing. So as you breathe comfortably, you can create almost a massaging effect on those lower organs of the body. Down towards the whole of the pelvic area. It can be useful for women during menstruation. They have cramps. You can release tension in the sacrum and lower back through our breathing, rhythmic. It's helpful for reducing pitta tendencies, which is the dosha that has inflammation and heat, a very busy, wanting to do lots of things, very ordered. Some of the positive things about being pitta, some of the negative things about being pitta. And the centering effect can have a beneficial effect on the vata tendencies of people who are a bit more in their heads, and airy and lacking focus. It tunes to the nourishment, sensations of being at ease with yourself, being at home with yourself, spreading that unconditional love for yourself. So a few more beautiful breaths working with this Svadhisthana mudra. Breathing towards that pelvic area, nourishing, healing, coming home. Forearm is still parallel with the floor, slightly out to the left. Aware of any tensions, effect of them holding the mudra. Your body welcomes it or is resistant at the moment. Through practice, you may find more balance and the subtle energies that this mudra brings about. One more beautiful breath in Svadhisthana mudra, and when you've released that breath, you might like to bring your hands together at your heart center to Anjali mudra. A gesture of devotion, reverence, and set an intention for yourself for this practice or for the day. What would you like to achieve? What do you want to experience, feel after you've completed the practice? And perhaps also as it resonates on through the day. When you've set your intentions, bow our heads to seal our intentions. And we can let the eyes gently open and allow the body to stretch out and move a little bit. So if you want to start perhaps with your shoulders, rolling them around loosely. You can also lift the shoulders up and take them down. Pull them back and round them forwards. We go up. We can think of that as north, south, so we go down, east, west, north, south, east, west. And then you can, if it's comfortable, join them all together. Obviously, then you'll be going north, east, south, west, or the other way around. And then releasing, bring the hands up, and you've used the hands a little bit, but not very strongly. And just spread your fingers as far out as you're able to. Really stretching between the fingers. And you might like to interlace the hands and then push the palms lightly away, wherever your arms will go as straight as your elbows allow you to. If you have any restrictions in your fingers, wrists, elbows, work with your body appropriately. You turn the palms towards you and push the backs of the hands so we're bending the wrists in the other direction. And you might feel like lifting those arms up, palms facing you at the moment towards the ceiling, only as far as your shoulders, arms will go. Breathe in and then breathe out, bringing them down. We're going to change that slightly. So we're going to breathe in and turn the palms away from us if our hands will. Otherwise, as you've just done, breathe out, let the arms come up. Hold them there as you breathe in. And as you breathe out, bring them back down and turn the palms towards you. Breathe in As you breathe out, lift them, this time with the palms facing the body. Hold as you breathe in, and as you breathe out, drawing them down again. In the pause, change, breathe in, breathing out, going up, wherever your hands will do, breathing in, and as you move, breathing out. Pause, change the palms, last time, breathing in, out, in, out. And releasing the hands when you're ready. And give a little wriggle shake as you require. We'd like to stretch your legs out if you're in a place where that needs to happen, and give them a wriggle. And then we're going to roll over and gently come up to stand. So you can use your tucking toes under method to rolling up, or any other that suits you. So as you've come up, moving objects out of your way to have a clear space around you as best you can in the space that you have available. And we'll start with our Tadasana Samastiti standing pose, finding our feet, finding the contact between our body and the floor. That sense of aligning comfortably through the pelvis, the shoulders, the head, in a way that suits our body. That deep connection once more, perhaps even bringing awareness back to your Svadhisthana chakra area of the pelvis and feeling at home standing. So if you know that there's certain little adjustments that you make to your body to come to standing position, you could make them. If your habit is perhaps to slightly thrust and push the pelvis forward, or tilt the pelvis forward, which could enhance a low back curve to a disadvantage, then allowing the pelvis to move slightly back and the tail to sink a little bit for those people. But as soon as it's grabbing at your quads, maybe you're going too far. What feels right for me, where there's less effort in my standing. And we're all different, so it's what's working for you. From there, we'll invite our bodies to move into a forward bend, exploring the length through the back of the body at this stage. In your own time, breathe in, and when you're ready, breathe out and fold yourself forward in any way that feels comfortable for you without straining. And take it from there and stay for a few breaths, perhaps counting in your head to 20 or 30, not breaths, just counts. And experiencing that sense of allowing gravity to take you down and beginning to notice the stretches you find, whether your feet are still active and alive. When you press through the floor, you push down through the feet and you find your buttock muscles to come back. And you help with your buttock muscles, you draw yourself back up, as well as allowing the front to lengthen. When you've done your breaths, your counts, and you've come back up, notice how you feel. We can take a similar stretch, but with the front of the body. And if you need or wish to have your hands on your lower back, you can do, or the hands can slide down your back. And we invite the body to arch back, gentle arch. So we're not focusing on that lumbar area. We're inviting a long sweeping bending back. And we're also, to the best of our ability, avoiding throwing that head back. So when we lean our head back, it's almost as though we have our hands behind us and we're just resting our head, opening our throat lightly. Staying there while you're breathing safely. If you want to push the pelvis further forward, you might find you go a little more backwards, but it's safe for you. And then as you come up once again, just moving the pelvis back into its position as you settle down into your feet. Observe the effects of your back bend, how it feels, where you went to, were you appropriate? And sliding your left hand down your leg to lengthen through your right side seam. And if you wish to, let your head drop. And breathing into that open side as you allow your body to move, and notice, how do I use the center of my body? So if you find you have tension in your lower back when you go sideways, can I readjust where my pelvis is slightly to take that away? So it's a balanced use of my body. If you feel you want to go a little more, just pulling on that side to draw you further down. Activating the closing side to lengthen the opening side. Returning back to the center when you're ready, and you'll observe probably a sense of more length on one side than the other. And you can reverse it and take yourself sliding down the seam, imaginary seam if you haven't got one on your leggings, trousers, and floating down and finding that stretch length through the other side of the body. And we're conscious of that being the side, side, as opposed to side front or side back. And that shoulder being up and tilting the whole of the shoulders over. And again, you might draw a little closer after you've been there for a while. Increase the contraction on the side you're pulling. My side is right, and lengthening my left side. And your breath is flowing, and you find yourself stable through the center. And when you're ready, float yourself back, observing how it feels. And if you have space, a little bit wider with your feet, be careful of any objects that are near you, especially walls or heavy things, and allow your body to rotate gently. So this is about the chest, yes? The rotation of the chest rather than the pelvis, keeping the pelvis relatively still. If you find that hard, you might find with taking your legs a little wider increases your ability to steady the pelvis. If you're happy to, you can free flow the arms, or if you have space, you can free flow the arms. And if you'd like to, you can also free flow the head, assuming it's comfortable, doesn't make you dizzy. Your breath is flowing. If you have shoulders that are a little tight, be careful. But if you would like to loosen them here, you could bring the arms higher, maybe bending the front arm as it comes across, sending the other one behind. If you're feeling a little stronger and more mobile today, you could even take your arms up and wave them over your head. Or you can take hold of opposite elbows and do a high rotation through the upper torso. See how that feels, where you're feeling that rotation, if you get there, if you don't have to get here. Then you can move it back to shoulder height approximately, safe for you. And moving it a little lower, aware of what's happening in your spine. This is where your ribs join onto your spine, your thoracic spine. That's rotating. And slowly coming to stop. Noticing your body, bringing yourself back into your standing pose and letting your breath flow. What do I find? What do I notice? So finding your mat, stepping your feet again, once more, now comfortable width apart, possibly as long as your inside leg, in between your feet, maybe, if that's possible for your hips. So the main emphasis here would be that if we have any stretch on our legs, it would be on the inner thigh moving apart and avoiding any compression on the outside of the hips to take our legs out. So if it's here, you've probably gone too far and you need to come in a bit. But if it's felt here, you're okay. You've got some range still left to do and you can work those legs. And then turning your right foot, if this is safe for you, around to the right. So we're at a right angle approximately, and here we can align that right heel with either the back left heel or the instep of the left foot. It very much depends upon you. And then turn the heel of the left foot out, and you might find that your left hip turns slightly forwards. It's not a big rotation. It's just like, and it's what led by the ankle, knee, and hip, and you do what it happens. Our emphasis is the inner thigh on the right to feel it is open and long. Not too worried about the hip and the leg on the left. Let that happen. Foot working well, outside edge, heels, toes spread, so we're not shortening the length of our leg. We're going to move ourselves into Trikonasana, the triangle. So we're looking for the triangle. We have a triangle legs, and then we come up and we get another triangle with the arm and the leg, perhaps. And our body almost looks like a triangle. But don't worry about the top arm. If there's any issues with your shoulder, this what will be the top arm as we tip to the right can rest either on your sacrum, on your hip, anywhere that works for you. So be aware of where you're putting that. The right hand will come down towards the leg. Just avoid using it to support you, so it's not a leaning down. Let it float, and if it doesn't touch, it's fine. No problem. Strong in your legs, connection through your center. If you're happy to, take your arms out to shoulder height. You know, either lift to the center, or you can imagine taking your jumper off and allowing the arms to float. Turn the palms to the front. Deep breath in, and as you breathe out, gently tipping yourself over wherever you can go. And of course, remember, this arm can come down if it needs to. And allow that to rest. We're looking for the length through the left side, as I am, but you might be different. And we can breathe into our ribs on this side. Now, you may find your head wants to stay looking forward. You could turn it to look down, release the neck. For those who feel stable and comfortable, tuck the chin lightly and look up towards the hand above. That's a struggle for your neck. Keep it center or look down. Find your feet, press down through the earth and feel that connection through the body. And only when there is release through that side of the torso would you go further. We're avoiding rotating. Am I breathing? So we're going to hold for another 2 or 3 breaths, subject to you. When you come up, press firmly down in your back leg as the anchor to lift you back. Release your arms. Turn that foot in and take a moment to observe your body. What do I feel? What do I notice? We're going to reverse that, turning our left foot around, or the other foot, checking that we're opening through that inner thigh, regardless of what happens with the other hip. And things will be different, perhaps, on the other side. You can allow that back heel to move away. That foot is slightly turned in, potentially. Some people it may not be. Opening and feeling any stretch work through the inner thigh to the best of your ability and the side of your torso. Breathing in, taking the arms out to shoulder height or lifting your jumper off to get your arms out. Turn the palms to the front. Lovely breath again when you're ready, and tipping over as you breathe out. Keeping both legs strong, find the earth, extending if you're using the arm up towards the sky, or releasing that hand to keep that shoulder comfortably above the other shoulder, avoiding rotation. So this is a lateral stretch, all the way from the outside knuckle bone of your, in my case, right ankle through the right side and up. And I might look down, depending on my neck, or I might tuck my chin and look up towards my thumb. And I'm breathing. I need to use the earth and my center to hold the pose and feel strong without straining. So the breath is flowing. So you can use your ujjayi. 2 more breaths here, strong, beautiful breaths, breathing into the right ribs. Feel the body settling into the earth and strong. And when you're ready, use the back leg as your anchor to pull you back to center. Release the hands, the legs. Notice how the body feels. And you might choose then to listen to your body and follow it. What does your body require now? And it could be with your legs wide. If that feels like a forward bend time, go into a forward bend, or you can step your feet back towards each other and take yourself into a forward bend that way. a wider leg forward bend or a closer leg forward bend, subject to your body, and allow yourself to settle there and the breath to flow. When you feel more balanced, coming back up to stand. Checking how it is, back to center. So taking the side stretch, we're going to take a gentle back bend now, working with Virabhadrasana 1. So we've done this previously. This is a useful practice, a standing practice. This is useful for elevating, innovating the upper thoracic back. So for those who tend to have a rounded upper back, this can be very useful for finding that ability to open through the front of the body and any back bend that you can get into that thoracic spine. So it is not really so much about the lumbar, that it will come into the game, but it's not our focus. And you'll go where you go, so please take care as you do this. We interlace the hands as we're working this and place the hands behind the back of the head and let the elbows come forward. I'm standing sideways, so hopefully it's easier for you to see. And then we're going to step the left leg, sorry, no, we'll do it again, the right leg back. I think that might be easier. We want to have those parallel, not one behind the other. Yes, so if I stand sideways, keep that width behind you. Don't have one leg standing on the same train track. Elbows are forward. If we press the back heel into the floor, we may feel some stretch down through the calf. And then from there, we could allow the pelvis to move forward as we bend the left knee. So we have that lengthening through the front now of the back leg. So the right leg extending through the hip flexor. We lift that length and we continue that length through the front of the torso by simply pushing the head into the hands and lifting the elbows. And you may find that this takes it into your upper mid thoracic spine rather than your lumbar. There will be some back bend in the lumbar. And the more you lift your elbows, the more you may find you can take it into your thoracic spine rather than your lumbar. And the more you press your pelvis, particularly that right hip forward, and lean slightly back, stretch through the front of the body is what you're looking for, contraction through the back, and breath flowing. 2 more breaths here. Strong feet, strong balance, gaze forward. And then when you're ready, allow the body to center once more, release the hands and step forward with that foot. Checking you have a width that's appropriate for you, a little bit wider than your maybe a little wider than your natural pelvis, although it depends how wide your pelvis is. All right, so we're going to slide the other leg back, straight line, heel slightly going out towards the side of your mat. Balance the pelvis, have both pelvic bones facing forward. Interlace the hands, place them behind your head once more if that's comfortable for you. Press your head straight back into your hands, not lifting your chin, elbows straight forward. Press into your back heel first, feel that calf stretch. And then when you're ready, a deep breath in. As you breathe out, bend the front knee and press the pelvis, particularly the left pelvis in my case, forward. And find the beginning of a stretch through the front. So from your left ankle, through your front of that thigh, hip flexor, up through the body, and then maybe lifting the elbows. They will lift your ribs. And your breath is flowing. And you may choose to lean your head slightly up, but be avoiding crunching your neck. Press into your hands. Find strong feet. Press into your feet more. And breath. If you have more, you can lift the elbows a little higher. Be careful of how much range you have in your thoracic back. One more breath, feeling that pressure, maybe a little more in the hip flexor forward. Imagine that sacrum moving forward. And then stepping back and releasing the hands. So hopefully you're aware of that sense of a back bend there, and you need to realign yourself as you come to center. So we're going to step the same leg back. So that's your left leg, or the one you just stepped back. About the same distance, maybe a little further, maybe not. So we're still on those train tracks, but not the same one. And this time we're looking to fold forwards and stretch perhaps more through the back of the leg that's in the front this time. Same leg we worked with first last time, right leg. We're stretching through the back, looking for the hamstring stretch, back of the leg stretch. So our back leg again is our anchor, and we're hinging forward gently from the pelvis this time. And your back can round, your hands might rest on your shin. And if you find it's in the back of your knee here, please soften the knee slightly, not big bend, and lift up through your sit bones in the legs. Both sit bones, particularly the leg that's in the front. Let the head release, the back of the neck. And as you breathe out, potentially you could allow the weight of the body to drop down a little further. Those who reach the floor can have their hands either side of the foot. And as you breathe down, dropping between the legs into the middle of the body, of the floor. So we're not really going towards the right, although you can if that's where it suits you. Finding that stretch through the back of the front leg. Still keep the weight through the feet, even though the hands may be on the leg or on the floor. We aren't relying on the upper body to support us, we're relying on the lower body. Then when you're ready, you can lengthen lightly through the front of the body to bring you back up, pressing firmly down into your back leg. Step your foot forward and observe the body. You may find there's a distinct difference now between the length you feel in the two legs. We stretch the back of the leg. We're going to slide the other leg straight back. Find the right balance for us, facing the pelvic bones. Our headlights are facing forward. And when we're ready, we hinge from the tops of the legs. Push back into that back heel. Front foot working balanced, particularly in the ball of the foot. Hands can come to thigh or below the knee. And if you have the only stretch is in the back of your leg, please soften slightly into that knee joint and lift up through that sit bone. Hands wherever they reach comfortably for you without struggling. Balance through both feet and breath flowing. See if you're aware of the back pelvis, particularly on the side that's on the back side, coming forward. So in my case, it's my right leg that is now back, and I want to just encourage those headlights to be balanced. So I find that stretch through the back. And of course, two legs different. Yeah, my leg's different, very different. But I can find that stretch in my hamstring here. I have to work a little harder on my left leg to find the stretch than my right. Send the sit bones up and away. Then when you're ready, press deeply into that back leg. Lift the chest slightly and bring yourself back. Carefully up, particularly if you have slightly low blood pressure, and step back to standing. Observe your body. The length of your legs, stretch in your legs. We're taking a small sequence now, and for some this may be too challenging for knees, so if it is too challenging for your knees, you'll do a modified version of it, and of course stop whenever you need to. You're going to do a forward bend, come into a squat, and it doesn't mean your heels have to be on the floor, and then back into a forward bend and then come up, and you've probably done it before. You can use your arms or not use your arms, entirely up to you. So it will look like this. You'll breathe in comfortably. You can hinge from the hips if you wish to, with a lengthening back, but avoid opening your chest like a dive. Keep it in alignment if you can. Folding forwards as you breathe out. Hands will find the floor. Maybe you need to bend your knees. Dropping down, buttocks to heels if you have that range, and opening the chest forward as you breathe in. As you breathe out, you'll fold your chest back to your thighs, head down, heels firmly on the ground. As you breathe in, you'll lift the body back up to stand and continue in that way. We're going to do 5 repetitions of that sequence. If you're not doing the squat, Breathe out into your forward bend. Soften your knees if you need to, and breathe in, coming back up, and simply working with Uttanasana, forward bending. And you may do a few more, or you can stop sooner. Entirely up to individuals. So 5 repetitions for those who are working. Breathing in. As you breathe out, folding yourself forward carefully, strong from your center. As you breathe in again, you lift and open your chest, looking forwards. As you breathe out, you fold, let your head drop. Make this the posture of a forward bend. As you breathe in, you lift yourself back to center. And you continue breathing out, extending forwards, dropping down, breathing in to lift and look forward, stretching into the lower back. Now let that lower back sink. Breathe out, fold forward, soft knees if you need to. Lift. If the arms are too much of a lever, take them out to the sides. Fold them out to the sides to come down. Breathe into your squat. Out into your forward bend. In, lifting your chest. And continue to work. 1 or 2 more, and depending on your breath. Really find your feet as you go back into your forward bend before you come up. So you really have those 4 poses. When you've completed your 5, come to stand and experience your body. So here, once we've completed, carry on if you're still working. You might want to imagine for a moment that you're lying on the floor. When you've finished, find your feet, and in the back of your body, imagine the areas in your body that would be touching the floor if you were lying in Shavasana. Back of the head, perhaps some of the shoulders, upper chest, pelvis, heels. So the backs and knees don't touch the floor mostly when we're lying down. Back of the waist doesn't touch the floor. Back of the neck doesn't touch the floor. And then when you're ready, come back down and find your place on the mat, lying on your back. So we're in a supine position, lying on our backs. And you might like to find your Shavasana. If your lower back's feeling a little tight, feel free to have your feet on the floor, knees bent. Otherwise, find your Shavasana. And of course, using cushions or blankets folded or whatever you require to support the back of your head, particularly those who have slightly rounded shoulders, that prevents their head being on the floor comfortably without the chin lifted. We want to endeavor to change that position of the head and the shoulders through appropriate positioning of support for the head. Arms can drift out to the sides, legs could drift and release, or you could have your feet, if you're practicing as if you were just standing, feet are flexed, toes up towards the ceiling, heels on the ground. And then noticing what is touching the floor in your body. And it's your body, it's nobody else's. So it is whatever works for you. And as you bring your feet parallel and toes up and the back of the head along, and you're looking straight up to the ceiling, and you might even want to experiment a little here by lifting your chin and feeling what that's like in the back of your neck and where your eyes are looking. And then if you bring your chin down a little and look, are you looking straight up at the ceiling? Or do you have too much support under your head and your head is up and you're looking towards the wall or whatever you've got in front of you? And we look straight up to the ceiling without moving our eyes, just straight. You might be looking at light fittings or the ceiling, or if you're lucky enough to be outside in the warmth somewhere, you could be looking up towards a blue sky. And then let go of that. Let go of the feet, let go of the arms, perhaps even close your eyes and observe your body resting. Notice any sensations, any areas of the body that we've worked, places where those asanas have affected energetic changes in the prana. Then bring your feet together, either both together or one at a time, bending your legs, placing the feet comfortably on the floor. Arms can be alongside, palms up or palms down. And bring our awareness to our pelvis. So if it helps you to have your fingertips on your pelvic bones that face the front, sometimes I like to call those our headlights, as I did earlier. And noticing the feeling of the sacrum, that's the triangle of bone at the base of your skull, on or towards the floor. And if you press the top of the sacrum into the floor, you'll feel hopefully the back of your waist pressing a little higher. And you may even notice that the pelvis, the front pelvic bones, tipping away from your thigh bones. And for some of us, that will also push our chins up. Can we avoid that to the best of our ability? We realign, lengthening through the back of the neck, and then we pull those pelvic bones towards the thighs, and we'll create a slight lift and release at the back of the waist. As you breathe out, press the back of the waist down, keeping the head as still as possible, lengthening through the crown of the head and the tail. And as you breathe in, lifting the pelvis towards the thighs, closing that gap at the top of the legs, breathing out, widening that gap and pressing the back of the waist down. So pelvic tilts, breathing in, floating the pelvis towards the legs, breathing out, floating the pelvis back, and noticing how much you're using your feet. A lot, a little, not at all. And can you do it with less foot action if you are using your feet? And then when you're ready, press with your feet to push the back of the waist down, and you'll find probably your thighs engaged too. As you breathe in, pull your feet towards your buttocks and feel that pelvis maybe moving a little more. Push the feet down as if they're going away from you without actually moving. Breathing in as if you're pulling your heels towards you, carefully, safely, without pulling them actually. And push down through the heels as you breathe out. 2 more times. A little bit more vigorously, pelvic rocking. Noticing how freely your pelvis is moving. And then come to rest once more and observe the sensations. We're going to lift the pelvis off the floor now. So you may find, depending where you put your heels originally, that you have to place them a little more firmly underneath your knees so that when you press down, your pelvis goes up rather than everything shooting you up towards the head of your mat. So pressing down through both feet, breathe out, let the pelvis lift a little off the floor, just a little. Have a little space underneath your lower back. Bring your awareness back to your pelvic bones and hold it there for a moment. Engage whatever you need through your pelvic area, lower abs, buttocks maybe. And then as you breathe in, lift your right hip up towards the ceiling a little bit. As you breathe out, bring it back down. Then tilt your left hip up towards the ceiling as you breathe in. And as you breathe out, bring it back down. And continue working each side, breathing in, lifting one side. Out, you're coming to balance. Playing with that, where you go to. Feel the feet, find the strength, length through the back of the neck. You're going to do it one more time each side. Hold in the middle if you're feeling strong. And as you breathe out and they're back to center, lift the pelvis a little higher. Have an engagement through those abdominals, perhaps through the buttocks too. And you can begin again if it's safe for you, or go back where you were and do it one more time. So right hip goes up, breathing in, back to neutral, out. Breathing in, left hip wherever it will go, back to neutral. So 3 times each side, working with your breath. Keep your control through the center. Check your shoulders are down. If it helps, have your fists or your hands and press a little bit to help support the upper body. But this is a focus on the pelvis. When you've come back to neutral and you've done 3 times, are you able to push down through your feet as you breathe out and lift up? And you might want to walk on top of your shoulders a little more now if you can. Feeling that opening through the front of the hips, maybe a little more engagement through the buttocks necessary. If you've gone too high, come down as you need to. You can always come back up again. If you have space to do it, right hip up as you breathe in, back to neutral. Left hip up as you breathe in, and back to neutral. Noticing what's firing, particularly at the back of the body as you do this. When you get higher, is it the back of the body rather than the front of the body that's working? Everybody's different, so notice for you. 3 times. When you've finished, you may find you can go a little higher into a full bridge if you want to interlace your arms underneath you, if you want to move your feet in, out, whatever works for you, and hold for 3 to 5 breaths. If you've had sufficient of working with the bridge, send your knees away if you are staying up, but if you've had enough, roll your spine down and rest. Be aware of those inner thighs pulling towards each other but not moving if you're holding. And when you've completed, walk the shoulder blades out if you brought them in before you roll that spine vertebra by vertebra, ensuring the back of the waist comes down before the top of the sacrum, before the body of the sacrum, before the tail. Settle for a moment. Observe your body. And then you might like to slide your legs away, sliding as opposed to lifting, if that's possible. Notice what you find. And sometimes what you find is there's an instinct to reverse the pose. I'd like you to stay with that sensation if you're able to without acting upon it. Take note of what your body does to realign itself. If it's really too much, you're not able to resist it, then please feel free to bring your knees onto your chest. If you can resist it, notice how the body changes, what it's doing, and what it's asking you to do. And perhaps your reaction might be, instead of pulling the knees in, simply to realign and wriggle the pelvis into the earth a bit more. And does that help to rebalance it rather than pulling it in the opposite direction? So whatever you've chosen to do, if you've already got your knees on your chest, you could stay there. If you haven't, you could bring your feet together, and either using your abdominals for both knees safely or one at a time. Bring the knees in and give yourself a little hug. If you'd like to release the upper back and neck, you can tuck your chin in and bring your chest towards your thighs. And then you've got space beside you. We'll take ourselves into a gentle rolling system now. So if you've got bolsters, if you need them for support, you can have them by the side. We're going to go to the left first, so you could have your bolster beside your body on the left. If you need helps you to put your thighs up on top of or put between your thighs. If you require a little support for your head, you've got your blanket perhaps close to you that you can place underneath your occipitals, those bones at the base of your skull that we want resting on the floor. That helps to relax your throat and keep that in place. So you decide what props, cushions, blankets, whatever you need are appropriate for you. The arms can come out approximately shoulder height. They don't want to be too high. They can change. You can move them according to you. They can go up, they can come down, whatever feels right for your shoulders. But our primary aim here is to keep the shoulders on the ground. That's your number one task, to the best of your ability, which is where the supports might come in. All right, so here you're going to have your hands down if you need to use them for something else, but otherwise engage your abdominals, and if you can, bring both knees onto your chest. checking in that you're balanced there. And we're going to aim to lift and keep our knees high as we take them over to the left, so away from the right. So your right shoulder blade staying on the floor as best it can as you engage your abdominals, particularly your obliques, and pull your legs over. And you may find you want to have some cushions or something to stop you pulling your shoulder off the ground. What height do I need to put my legs to keep my shoulder down? And if you choose then to turn your palm up, and we're going to stay, perhaps with your head looking to the right, encouraging that shoulder blade down and in, flattening against your ribs and sinking into the earth. So we're rolling and rotating to the right by taking our pelvis to the left. We're rolling, rotating to the right, if that's the way you've gone. Notice the sensations as you breathe into that right side of your body. You might want to imagine you've got a balloon from your bottom of the pelvis up to your armpit, and you're breathing. And you're staying, and you might even close your eyes here. Now, if you want to encourage that breath into your side ribs, you could adopt Prana Mudra, which is taking your thumb to the last two fingers on your right hand. That's the side we're activating. So it's like the peace sign, and you rest with the palm facing up. And that might encourage the breath into that right side. Check your shoulders comfortable and down, and you're breathing. And this is why we need to be fully supported. So that's why you might need to have more padding and support underneath your legs so that you can stay comfortably. You're not straining to have those legs down. Of course, if your legs easily reach the ground and your shoulder stays down, do that. If not, perhaps some people might want to have that bolster between their legs. So the top leg is supported, but the bottom leg is fine. Bolster, cushions, pillows, whatever you have available. Maybe closing the eyes and inviting energy to flow. You can have your Prana Mudra. And as you breathe out, sinking into the earth, surrendering. What do I find? Do I need to adjust things slightly? I'm staying for time. I need to follow the energy and the movements of the body. Inviting release, inviting change. What do I find? Definitely is avoiding pushing and shoving. So we invite change and then we move into it if it comes. But just a little more softening if you can. Find the floor and surrender to the earth. And then releasing your hand gesture, take a deep breath into both sides. Remove anything between your legs. Engage your abdominals. Bring the legs back to the center. Maybe turning the arms down once more as you carry the legs over. You might need to pause to bring a bolster and things over to the other side if you're going to use them. And then as you breathe out, lifting high and rolling those legs over to the other side. And it could be supported. So you settle in or you bring them between. And then you'll be looking to the opposite side or your head to the center, depending what feels right for you. Maintaining that sense of surrender into the earth. And if you wish to adopting your Prana Mudra on The left hand, if that's the side you're twisting towards, the last two fingers, first two fingers are open, palm is up, Prana Mudra. Sending the energy, the vitality into those ribs, middle area of the body. Find your breath and allow your breath to settle you and sink. And we're inviting change by surrendering and staying. And that's why it's so vital that you are comfortable. Your head is in the right position. Your arms and shoulders, shoulder blades are in the right position. And you're rotating your body to the left. Chest is going left. Legs have gone to the right. And your breath is flowing into your left ribs, left side of the lungs. And as you breathe out, allowing everything to settle a little more. Find that sense of surrender. We're very habitual in our holding patterns. And this is an opportunity to hold, but in a different way to our normal holding patterns. And through that release and surrender and hold, we may find that connective tissue invites change, it invites more space and allows flow. So the softness of the body requires that we invite release of the fascia, and the fascia requires fluid. So we need to make sure we are drinking sufficient, that we have the possibility of our fascia becoming looser, and that can release space around the muscles and ligaments and joints and take us a little bit further away from our habitual holding patterns that may need to change in order to serve us more appropriately. We're not looking to damage anything, we're not looking to change because of an aesthetic, but because of a functionality, mobility, flexibility, the ability to stay and move safely for yourself. A few more breaths here into that left side. And you could release your mudra if you're holding Prana Mudra, and let the breath move towards both sides more evenly. Engaging the abdominals to carry the legs back to the center, moving any props safely out of your way. And then releasing and surrendering perhaps into your lying pose, just lying flat, back of the body. Acknowledging the sensations of your lying twist. Of course, if you're feeling a little chilled, you can throw on a blanket for a moment. We're not staying here for long. How do I feel? What do I notice? Are there changes? Are they appropriate for me? Do I feel release, spaciousness, perhaps a little more spaciousness in the upper chest? Some of the area we've worked in, and around the pelvic area, in the hips, lower back, sacrum area. What do I find? Without judgment. And then when you feel ready, you might like to stretch or wiggle your body around a little bit before rolling over to your right side. That's safe. Stay there for a moment, supporting your head briefly. only when you feel ready, softly bringing yourself up to sit on a chair, sit on blocks, a bolster, cushions, whatever you have available. So that we end up with our pelvis slightly higher than our thighs, certainly higher than our knees, whether you're on a chair or on the floor or kneeling. And gently bring yourself back to an upright seated position once again. Now, if you tend to sit cross-legged, I invite you to cross your legs the other way. Now, it may not be able to sustain it, but you might. If you find that one hip doesn't want to drop down as much, you could pop a blanket or a cushion or something underneath that leg so that you have support on both sides. And if it's very uncomfortable, you know that this needs a little bit of more work and practice, crossing the legs the other way so we become more balanced. We'll never be completely balanced, I don't believe, but maybe we can keep a little more balance going on. So our final practice is with Pranidhana Mudra. It's a gesture of surrender, learning to let go of things. We hold on to things, we grasp at things, but surrender is good. So if you wish to join in with this one, it's bringing your thumb to the middle two fingers. That's Apana Mudra. You may recognize it. And then we place the little finger and the first finger together. And then the hands are just pointed down. So the middle two fingers are touching the thumb, fingertips. Last two fingers, little finger and index finger are free. And we bring those two together. Pranidhana Mudra, the gesture of surrender. Settling into an upright seated position, and your breath is flowing comfortably freely. As I let go of the need to control, my life becomes an effortless flow. As I let go of the need to control, my life becomes an effortless flow. How many things do we wish we could control? Can we learn to let go of our attachments? Release tension from the body. Reduce stress. Perhaps reduce our blood pressure if it tends to be high. For this gesture, as with Svadhisthana Mudra, it directs the breath down. It's a grounding, it's a pelvic more directed practice. You could think of it again as coming home. If we let go, if we surrender, we'll be at home. In our body, in our minds. So this gesture can slow the breath, lengthen the exhale, inducing a sense of relaxation and release. And as we relax more and more deeply, through this gesture, we can naturally enhance our sensitivity to both our physical and subtle bodies, allowing us to perceive the very first seeds of imbalances before they manifest as dis-ease. This gesture also instills a sense of letting go within the mind and emotions, allowing us to release concerns and worries more easily, to appreciate each moment of life more completely. As I let go of the need to control, my life becomes an effortless flow. Pranidhana Mudra, the gesture of surrender, for learning to let go. Notice your breath. Surrender into your seat and the emotions and energies created by the mudra. Mind your emotions, your breath. Surrender into the mudra. Let go of any sense of trying. Allow yourself to be. If the gesture becomes too much for you, you could release it with your palms facing up, resting your right hand in your left into Bhairava Mudra, the gesture of unity. Follow your breath, letting go down and away. You find your breath and allow it to be what it is. To sink deeply into your position without resistance. Surrendering and being. Learning to let go. Softly opening both hands, palms facing up. Left hand under, right hand on top. Into Bhairava Mudra if you're not already there. And then you'll be able to breathe freely and take a full deep breath rather than an apana breath. Gesture of Shiva's fearsome aspect. Balancing all aspects of our being. One more full, beautiful breath. And then bring the palms together at your heart into Anjali Mudra. Set an intention to work with yourself safely throughout the day, to acknowledge all aspects of your being, to follow the breath when you need to, when you notice things are out of balance. What is my breath doing? And can I bring it back to balance? What is my mind doing? My emotions? Send yourself a message of unconditional love. Hariam Tat Sat. Namaste.